Hello to everyone. We are excited for today's presentation of Scanner School. I was trying to find some back to school music, but save that for next time. um, but we'll get started. I'm waiting on May. She was here and then dropped out, so we're going to just wait for her to get back. All right, here she is. So we're excited to have everybody. As I mentioned a little bit earlier today, we're going to talk about some scanning techniques. We're going to walk through what they look like. But more importantly, we're going to talk about some of the whys behind, why we say you should scan a certain way or not do something a certain way. And we'll walk through it. And again, we have our experts, our chief technical officer. We have two experts from customer service. We have the great Tammy Dwight on the line, and we'll walk through all of those things just so we can have a greater understanding behind the whys, which really helps me. I know in particular, once I know why I shouldn't do something, I'm not one of those people that you just say, well, just do it this way. It doesn't work for me. So I like to know why so that I can adjust my behavior accordingly so I can get the best scan from our realtors and just have the best results so that we're continuing to move forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through examples and then we'll pause for Q&A. If you have questions, simply put them in the chat. We'll get to them. Let me just make sure. We'll get to those as well. And make sure that everything is good from that standpoint. Like I said, we'll get to the questions and then we'll go to the next one. We love those questions because it really allows us to get into those details. And again, you have the experts on the line who can help provide those answers. So we're extremely excited and looking forward to getting into it. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right in and get started. You ready, Marcus?
Yep.
All right. So as soon as I can find my screen. All right, here we go. All right. Tammy, can you see the screen?
Yes, you're good.
All right.
Press present. I think that's the.
Right. All right. So let's jump right in. Just to start off, some scanning tips. I know that we talk a lot about the warnings and things that come up. Our goal is to provide the information so that we can be prepared and do what we need to get excellent scans. I know warnings sometimes come up and we don't like the warnings, but the warnings really help us to minimize those areas where it could present a problem in scanning and overall produce better scans. Marcus, do you want to add anything here?
I think I can add in the later phase, like when we have the examples and everything like that. So
Good deal.
Have the more deeper knowledge.
All right. So let's jump in to our first example. We'll watch this video and then we'll proceed from there. Hey guys, it's Mark Smith, one of your community managers, and we're here to talk about some of the whys behind why we scan. We have a room that has some tight spaces. We have a walk-in closet, and they can both present some challenges. So we want to just walk through just how to maneuver and navigate through these spaces. Again, we've talked about in previous videos, but instead of trying to turn around in such a tight space, we're going to show you how we just back right out, and the same thing here. So you know what? Why don't we just jump in and show you how we scan it? You got everything ready. Make sure your fingers aren't blocking the view of the camera. So basically what I would do is walk forward. We're not going to crab walk. We're going to walk into the room. And instead of turning around, I simply back out of the room. As we know, it's best to keep at least 5 feet distance. So we're here, not moving too fast. And then simply backing back out. Typically, I would back completely out of the room, but you get the picture, and it's important to remember back completely out of the room to make sure that you're able to get everything that you need to get. So again, a room like this, pretty standard. Instead of having, tight spaces and trying to turn around or moving too quickly or walking, along with the wall, you walk straight forward as you normally would. You back out of closets, you back out of tight spaces, and you'll get great scans. All right.
Yeah, so probably in here, like the main reason for this kind of scanning technique is that when you are rotating in tight spaces, you always end up in a situation where you're pointing the device against something which is really close. And that's something what we want to avoid because...
Hey guys, it's Mark Smith, one of your community managers.
Oh, no problem. Because our AI, which then basically constructs and recreates the indoor space in 3D, has really hard time to know, to understand what's going on in there, because there's not much in the actual view to make the decisions. So if the device is against a white wall or against a door frame or something, it's pretty hard to say anything about that. Okay, how far we are or what this thing actually is, because you're only seeing a small part of it and not the big picture.
Awesome. Any questions that have come in yet, Tammy? Or
well, I wanted to point out that you mentioned crab walking, and I'm not sure if that comes up again later in the presentation, or and this is it's one of the pieces that you were just addressing there. So the spinning, the being too close to things, and the crab walking, kind of all in one. So yeah, those seem to be the big things. And to elaborate a little bit on what Marcus said, when you're really close to something in your scan, that's moving faster than everything else. And that's something that can really throw the scan off. So super important. And also, if this is your wall, if you're walking this way past the wall, your camera is taking in a very wide view and gathering all of the information on the room. Whereas if you walk by this way, parallel to it, there's no information basically. So just to reiterate those things that in my very simple language and understanding, if that helps anybody.
Awesome. All right, let's jump into the next example. And Tammy, can you keep an eye on the chat for questions?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so here we go with another typical and small space. Hey guys, it's me again, Mark Smith, Community Manager. We're here in another typical space, a tight bathroom, don't have a lot of room to maneuver, turn around, do any of those things. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, again, demonstrate what we did in one of the previous rooms. We're gonna walk in, make sure that we maintain at least that 5-foot distance as much as we can, and then turn around and back out. Because it's important, again, to show and understand that we have to get these shots, but we have to make sure that we're getting the best scan possible. All right, so again, we start scanning. I'm gonna walk in. I scan to make sure we have everything. And then I simply right back out of the room. And just like that, we're done. Hey guys. So Marcus, before you jump in, and I know May really wanted to emphasize this, it's so important when we're backing out of rooms to make sure we clear the door frame. Because again, if we're too close to the frame of the door, that can cause problems with the scan. Marcus, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so Yeah, I think the same principle applies there as well. Like, where basically you're backing out or even entering through a doorway. Like, it's good to remember that, yeah, you always keep the distance to the sender on what the device sees, basically. So you're not turning too fast right at the frame, because then you're actually just, the device only sees the frame and nothing else. So you actually take some time before you're or distance before you're actually doing the turn.
Awesome. Mayor Anna, do you have anything to add?
Not at this point. I think it was really good what you said about the door frames.
Awesome. Tammy, any questions yet?
Well, we did have, I'm not sure if you will come back to this later, but John had the question about how do I handle houses that have 2 staircases leading to an upper level? I don't know if we want to address that yet.
Yeah, you know what? We don't have that example, but Marcus, do you want to address that one while we have it?
In the end, it doesn't matter. Like, how I would do that, if you have a, for example, 2-story home and then you have 2 staircases going to the second floor. What I would do is that first scan the first floor, then use the one staircase to go up, scan the second floor, and then use the second staircase to go down. So then you're like basically optimizing the scan time in there.
Sounds good. So just to reiterate, scan the first floor, go up 1 set of stairs, scan the second floor, go down the second set of stairs, and that way you maximize, that scan territory and, get everything you need, and it's really effective, so you don't have to repeat a lot, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, and like in the end, it doesn't matter that much. So let's say that you already walked down the first staircase down, then you can just, and if you remember, you can just then walk through the first floor and then go to the second staircase and walk up and end the scan there. So
Okay.
And that's it.
Either option is acceptable.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks for the question. All right, let's jump into our next example. And this one is about doors. We see this one pretty frequently, So before we jump in, there's the question of, do we need to open doors? Do we not open doors? So Marcus, do you want to handle that first? So if it's a closet in particular.
It depends, I would say. Like, let's say that you have a closet where you cannot actually even step in. So it is just like closet like full of shelves right after you open the door.
Mm-hmm.
Then it doesn't matter do you open it or not. But with walk-in closets where you can actually enter the closet and it has more space, then I would basically scan it like, okay, I walk forwards there to there, and then I stop like at least 5 feet before the back wall, and then I back out, and that's it. So that's then how we know that, okay, what's the type of the space behind the door. But with small closets, that's usually visible also from the overall structure, that, okay, we have a wall, okay, you cannot actually see me, so I cannot show with my hands, but basically if there are small closets, you can see that there are small closets from the actual whole structure of the building. So then that doesn't matter.
So pantries and basic closets don't necessarily have to be scanned because there's really nothing to walk in and nothing to show.
Yeah. Or if you want to show it, you can open the doors and then not try to put the device inside the space, but just view it from at least 5 feet away to show that, okay, yeah, this kind of thing is behind this door.
Okay.
But always maintaining the distance.
All right, cool. So we're going to show two different examples, one of a door that opens inward and then one of a door that opens outward. And the purpose of this is to, again, we have a bad scan and a bad example and a good example to show the effects of what happens when that door is moving in front of a camera, and Marcus can talk about that afterwards. So let's do this one real quick. All right, and then let's see the other version. Notice the camera is not pointed into the room as the door is opening. All right, so Marcus, you want to hit this one?
Yeah, so you're probably wondering a bit, okay, why door openings like a negative thing while you're scanning. So it relates more about how our AI and everything will perceive the space. So when you're opening a door and if it's covering the whole frame, and while you're opening it, the device and our AI has hard time to know that, okay, what is actually happening? Because the device's sensors say that, yeah, I'm not moving anywhere. But then the visual feedback what they get is that, yeah, we're actually moving because the door is moving and it cannot see anything else around it. And then that causes a mix-up, which then results usually the device not actually knowing that, okay, what is my correct position here? So that's why if you need to open doors, the guidance is that, okay, point the device to an open space where it can see things, so it can keep the track on, okay, where am I? And then open the door like out of the actual device's view, and then you can enter the room. So that's something which then ensures that the device knows at all times that, okay, where am I right now in the indoor space.
Awesome. And I find this one to be the big issue is when I'm going in the garage. And, and one of the things that we typically tell people is to open doors and turn on lights before you start to scan. But many times opening the garage door may not be possible. So that's where I run into it most is, you have to enter this garage. So making sure that the camera is pointed away from that door as the door is opening before actually entering.
Yeah, and basically making sure that you're not, like, the device is not pointed at the wall while you're opening it, because then that's almost the same thing as like pointing it at the door, basically, because it's really close. And that's why we recommend that, okay, you should open the doors beforehand if possible, because then that's going to make your scanning much more easier, because you don't need to think about opening doors at all during the scan.
Makes sense. Anything to add, Anna or May?
Just to make sure that when you were pointing the device away, that you don't see the door in the frame at all, because sometimes people will point the device away, but still showing some part of the door moving. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back just so we can show this example. I'm going to pause it. Right there. So, and you can even be more exaggerated than this, but pointing the camera away so that it's not showing the door frame at all. It's still showing down the hallway somewhere else, opening the door completely, and then position yourself to walk into the room. So as May was just, saying, it's important that it's not right up against that door frame or anything, just like Marcus has explained, so that it doesn't give that error in reading as we go through. Anything else, May?
Not at this moment.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna do now a door that opens the other way, just to show a different example here. Now I'm gonna pause because normally this is a garage and I would have gone into the garage, but we were just showing the example of opening the door. And as Marcus explained, if we had had the door open in the first place, it would have been easy just to walk through. In some cases, that's not possible. So this is exactly what you do not want to do. But typically you would go ahead and walk through, but I wanted to make sure that that was clear. Again, two horrible examples of what not to do. All right, Marcus.
Well, I have nothing to add for this. So
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same stuff. I just wanted to show the difference between doors opening inward and outward. I think in this one, it was much more clear to see the camera pointing away from the door, away from the wall in the good example, so that it's clearly pointed down the hall versus at any way, shape, or form. And I know it's sometimes tough because we're in homes that we are not familiar with and don't really know. So that's where it comes in really handy to have the doors open anyway. And then this last example with the coat closet, as Marcus mentioned, is really not necessary to scan it because of the construct of the home. They're going to know that it's a closet space, and we'll be able to get it from there. But you know, if you do need to open, you can just open and stay right where you are and keep on moving. All right, let's move forward. So this is my favorite part. I love this because we're going to actually see a great example of a horrible scan and then what it actually looks like from a diagram of a scan. So let's jump right into this. This is really good.
yeah, so here basically you can see basically you're following the wall, you're really close and not keeping distance at all to anything, and just offering a partial view of the basically the big picture what you have. And that's how the actual scan looks. And Mark, if you can now jump to the next image. So this is one process output when our AI is detecting things. And this visualization has been created for this presentation to basically show that how much our AI can make decisions on what things are, where they are, and is it even confident enough to say that, okay, this is a bed or this is a wall. So you can actually see that while offering a really narrow and small view to the indoor space, our AI also has really hard time to confidently know that, okay, what's going on in there. So there's a lot of things missing from the whole picture. And we can probably then jump to the good things, good scan and offering the context.
Here we go.
So in here, as you can see already, the starting position is much farther away. In here, you're not turning, you're just going in, backing out. Then also taking a wider look for the kitchen. And while you're stationary, you're basically scanning the upper part of the kitchen. Then when you get to the higher level, you're basically capturing the wall and everything else from there, and always keeping the distance. Like, that's the important part. And then you're backing out, and when you get more space, you're turning and basically finishing the scan. And in the end, there's just a show of, okay, this is the whole space like this. And then finishing the scan. So I think you can, from these two videos, you can already see that, okay, how much more context there was in the actual scan when it gets to. And this is the output, basically. So there's a huge difference. I think, Mark, you can jump to the next frame because it has them side by side. So there's a huge difference if you just take a couple of steps backward to the whole scan result, and how much more information our AI gets to actually make decisions on, okay, yeah, this is actually a wall. Oh yeah, this is a bed, and so on. And then if it's too close, there's less data to make the decision on. You can probably jump to the next frame. So these are some screen captures from the videos. So on the left side, we have the bed scan. So as you can see, there's not much floor visible. There's a really close-up shot of the kitchen furniture. But also while you're really close, there's not much information that, okay, where this actually is and how far it is and everything else, because there's limited context. But then on the right-hand side, you are a couple steps backwards. There's more context offered with the limitations of the 13 feet, because then it goes too far away. So then there are like cases that, okay, we cannot confidently say that something is this far away. But there's a huge like difference in the context what we have. If you can jump to the next frame. And this is also then from the upper part. So in here, we are really, really close. And you cannot basically tell that, okay, is this thing on the left, is it a sofa or is it a bed or what it actually is? But then when you go backwards a bit and you're keeping the distance, so you have more open space between the device and the objects what are being scanned, you actually have more references around it to know that, okay, what's going on. And that's the main takeaway, I would say, in there. So having the 5 to 13 feet distance thing always ensures that you basically give enough context for our AI, for example, to make decisions and place the things on correct places. Yep, thanks.
Awesome. And I just love this diagram because it is so clear, the amount of data that we have to work with, and, from a bad scan on the left to a good scan on the right, there's so much more simply by making a few adjustments that can make a huge difference in the accuracy of your scans, which is, what we talk about is one of the most important things. I know it's important for my realtors. I know it's important for me as a business owner. So, this is one of the ways to make sure that we can get incredibly accurate information and great scans. All right, any questions? Sam, anything that's come up?
Can I just jump in? We do have a few questions, and I just wanted to let you know, maybe once we get through the presentation, we will answer all of those more towards the end. If that's okay.
We're good. We can do it now.
Okay, well, we have sort of twin questions here from Carol. Carol asks, how do you handle a detached garage with an apartment attached? And Mindy asks, similar question, I've always been confused as to whether or not you can pause in the middle of scanning and then restart without having to start completely over. I recently was scanning a house with a detached garage, and I wasn't sure if I had to keep the scan going while I walked across the backyard to get to the garage. So who would like to take those guys?
Yes, so basically, at the moment, we're not offering like pausing feature as sense for the scans. So the scan should be on for the whole time, because then the device also knows that where it's going. So then the knowledge is there that, okay, yeah, this garage is this far away from this building, basically.
Awesome.
And for the like outdoor scanning practices, they're basically the same. You can take the same practices from the indoor to the outdoor, but it's just going to be much more simpler in the outdoor because usually you don't have much like furniture or anything in there which you need to think of.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marcus. And there was one more pretty general question that just kind of goes to your scanning style and just kind of your workflow. And it was from your very first video, Mark. Robert asked, in scanning the room, you went left to right. Is that always the way it is to be done? So I'll just briefly, my workflow always now is normally I'm scanning after I've already done the photography. So I will already have all of the windows open. Most of the doors are open except the garage door. Sometimes you can prop that open, sometimes not. And so to answer Robert's question, the order really is kind of up to you. It's just so you get into a kind of regular workflow so that you don't miss anything. So for me, I always go to the right through the whole house so I don't miss a room. And it's just kind of my rule to make it easier and to know that I've scanned everything.
Yeah, and I take a very similar approach. As I'm doing photography, I noticed the flow that would be best, to get the video, to scan to make sure that we're good. And it does happen that I go typically left to right, not only in the home, but in, rooms as well. So I think it's just, I think it's personal preference, but it's what works best to get the flow of the home so that rooms aren't missed.
Mm-hmm. There's one more question that just came in as well from Indy. And the question is, I've been getting requests to do backyard and front yard floor plan with measurements to show potential buyers how spacious the yards are. Can this be done?
Mark,
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so they basically they've been requested to scan the front yard and backyard to get measurements for the yard.
Oh yeah, at the moment, unfortunately, we're not supporting those kind of measurements. Yeah.
Okay. And one more question from Jenny. Does the audio on the scanner automatically work, for instance, when saying the name of the room, or do I need to press something to get it going?
Yes, so to be clear, your audio is only processed on the device. It's not sent anywhere. And you need to always press the button and then say the room name. And what then you can actually see it from on the screen when you're doing it is that when you have set the room name, it takes some time to process, and then it gives you the like options on, okay, which one of these like room names it was, because we're basically translating your speech to text on the fly on the device, and then only the selected text is then attached to the actual scan.
I just would like to add on that you just need to say the name of the room, and just if it's a different room. For normal rooms like kitchen, bedroom, this type of rooms, we are able to find the label, so we are able to understand what the room is. But if it's, for example, something that it's completely different, like I can't remember anything right now on top of my head, but if it's a custom label that you have a bat cave in your house, so for example, then you would use the speech recognition, and only say bat cave, not this is a bat cave, for example. So just say the name of the room.
So wait, you're saying that bat caves are not normal?
Just in your house.
That's right, Batman.
Awesome. Let's pause for a minute and see if Anastasia has any questions from Facebook. Anything, Anastasia?
No questions.
All right, we just wanted to hear her voice anyway, so.
Yes.
All right, anything else, Tammy?
Nope, I think we're all caught up. If I missed anyone, I apologize. Please let me know, maybe in the chat.
All right, so.
Actually, I think there is a question from Andy, follow-up from what we mentioned about outside dimensions. So they're asking if there is something that we are working on in the near future or not at all. Marcus, if you can answer that.
Yeah, so at the moment, we do not have anything specific on our roadmap. But that probably then, that's more of an like decision what we as a company need to make at some point, that, okay, is there actually a larger need for this kind of like feature in there? Yep.
So we definitely want to do more events like this. We're going to get to the key takeaways in a second. I have this poll up right now. For those of you that answered yes, please send an email to Tammy or myself. We'll drop our email in the chat. We'd love to hear of scenarios that you struggle with or would like additional details on, so that we can prepare for those in the future and make sure that we have adequate information. Again, our goal is to support this community and make sure that we have what we need so that we can scan more effectively and, ultimately get greater scans with greater accuracy, and results in less time so that you don't have to do some of the edits and things afterwards. So thank you for your participation in that. So again, just a few takeaways. Plan ahead of your scan as much as you can. Open doors, turn on lights, plan your way through the house. I know that a lot of times we do this at the end of photography. So if you're with a real estate agent and their time is super special, there's a tendency to rush through and try to get through it as fast as possible. But you don't want to rush too fast so that you're getting an inaccurate scan. And then again, just make sure we're keeping that distance of 5 to 11 feet from the walls. If you do open a door, make sure that you don't have it in view of the camera. Position your camera down the hall or whatever the case, so that that doesn't happen. And when we're in those tight spaces, just back out of the room rather than trying to make a quick turn or do anything else. It's really the most easy and effective way to make it happen. Marcus, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I think you covered everything.
All right.
Thanks.
Mayor Anna, do you have anything from a customer service perspective?
Not really. I think it was really good.
Awesome. Tammy, do you have any closing comments? Again, as a photographer in the field, I know you come across a ton of scenarios. We talk about them all the time, but anything you want to add or share?
I would just add that we really do appreciate when things come up for you to let us know. And it is really amazing to work for a company that listens. So when you send suggestions or let us know that you're having problems, we actually are listening and we are always trying to make things better. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate everybody taking the time to be here and know we're all busy. So thank you.
All right, we do have a question that just came in from Andy. He said, I just joined by phone, but he does have a question. He said, is the measurement being done from the phone to the walls, or is the measurement being developed from the points it establishes in a scan to other points in the scan? I asked to understand what happens if you're getting too close to an object so it triggers the warnings.
Yes, so basically the guidances and warnings are from the device to the objects or things in the space. But then I'm not sure, like with measurements in the actual output measurements, those are then from points to points. If I understood that answer, like a question correctly.
Andy, did that answer your question? Not sure.
Not sure.
So let's see. So is the issue, Andy, more with the actual warnings themselves, or are you wondering more about how the measurement takes place? So he says, if I scan a broad view and get closer, is it interfering with the measurement?
It shouldn't, like, I'm not sure, were you able to see the examples which we presented earlier? But like getting to, like, if for example you have a LiDAR device and you're getting the like proximity warning, so yeah, you are too close, then that's basically, yeah, you're then the device is too close to things what you're scanning. But like there's a sweet spot for the distance when you're scanning, which is the 5 to 13, and that's like the, when you're within that range, you maximize the context and the view, but at the same time you're not too far, so that it's really hard to tell that, okay, how, like, what are the things in the, like, in really far corners of the space.
So Andy, let me see if I understand or can ask it a different way. So do you mean like, you know, you scan a room or a space and you got the broad view, but then you happen to walk by, for instance, a sofa or a piece of furniture? Is that the issue? Because I know sometimes it's impossible to, you know, completely stay 5 feet away because we're in some homes that are pretty tight, pretty small. And, you know, you try to keep that 5 feet distance, but there happens to be a sofa right there and it shows up and you get the proximity warning. Is that more of what you're saying? Yes. So Marcus, for instance, in like let's go, the example of the very first room, where there's the arm wire on the right side and the bed right there on the left, and there's that tight corridor to go through. You know, if you keep that 5 foot distance, but it happens to show up and say, oh, wait, as you're backing back out or going in, the proximity warning shows up, you just keep moving basically, right?
Yeah. And how the proximity warning is done is basically that you need to have the, like, the cover of the distance needs to be almost the full view of the camera. So we have made it so that, for example, if you are in a hallway, of course the walls on the side are really close to you, but it doesn't matter because we can see from the center. So we have made it a bit intelligent so that it doesn't trigger on a situation where actually the conditions are right. But then if you get that proximity warning, well, just take a step back and then continue to scan. It doesn't mean that the scan is gonna be bad. It's more of a guidance kind of thing, so that well, you then learn a bit like, okay, like what kind of situations are not that optimal. For example, the video in the start where I was where the scan was done completely against the wall. Of course, during that scan, you will get the proximity warning all the time. So I think they're also like I think it's more about like the reaction to the actual guidance. So when you get the warning or guidance, then you react to that, and it's not fatal, I would say, for the scan.
Okay. And Andy, no, and for closets, if it's not a walk-in closet, you don't necessarily need to try to walk in it or anything. If you do show it, you can just open the door and show it, but you don't even have to do that technically, because as you're scanning the rooms around it, the AI is going to know that it's a closet space and will get it. So technically, if it's just a regular closet or a pantry, you don't have to scan it. But if you do, just show it without sticking the camera in or anything like that. And Marcus, he also asked about the stairs because, going upstairs, it will trigger sometimes that proximity warning. Do you want to speak to stairs at all?
Oh, yeah, we are aware of that, and it's on the roadmap to get that fixed, so it wouldn't trigger on the stairs. So yeah, we are aware of that one, like, or that situation that, okay, if you're in the stairs, and especially when you're going up, you will get that because the stairs are really close to you. Absolutely. And if you point the device upwards, you will get the 2 horizontal scan warning. So we're trying to get our app to learn about that so that it doesn't trigger those warnings when you're in the stairs.
Yep, and we always want to make sure you're safe walking up those stairs because I've almost tripped it times myself, like trying to make sure I didn't get a warning, but trying not to trip. So it's that delicate balance, but stay safe first, and then we'll deal with it on our end. So it'll get better. All right.
But I would add to the, like, if you get the warnings, for example, if you have a like straight flight of stairs and you get the proximity warning or something, I would say that just don't care about the warning on the stairs, because like if you're actually walking up the stairs and there's only stairs what the camera sees, then I think it's fine, because we will get that fixed at some point so that you don't get the warning when you're in the stairs. So no need to try to basically think of those warnings while you're like walking up the stairs, for example.
Awesome. Well, I think that is it. I want to say a couple of special thank yous to our marketing team. You guys are always great and put together great information for the community of photographers to continue to market and share all the great things that are happening. So thank you to the entire marketing team. Thank you to May and Anna from customer service for joining us to help answer questions and to just help us scan better overall. And to our Chief Technical Officer, the man himself, Marcus, thank you so much for joining and giving insights to help us understand the whys behind our scanning so that we can always get better. And to my incomparable teammate, Tammy, thank you so much. You're awesome, and you're always a pleasure to work with, and helping us again grow this community. And yes, Kathy, the recording will be up on our YouTube page at some point. We try to get them up as soon as possible, but yes, it will be up. And if you have any questions along the way, let us know and we'll be glad to answer and provide those responses. So thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.